Right then guys, how's it going, and welcome back to Your Football Predictions, the series where we try and predict all of the weekend's Premier League football. But before we get on to this weekend, let's take a look at my predictions from last weekend. So I've had a few decent weeks recently. This wasn't one of them. I got 0 correct scores. It wasn't the easiest week. We had some games like Man U, Chelsea 0-0. We had Leeds beating Villa 3-0. We had Newcastle somehow getting a 1-1 draw against Wolves. So it wasn't easy. But as always, you guys did better than me. We had loads of comments. So thank you straight away for everyone who got involved in the last video. We had a fair few people who got 1 correct score. We had about a handful of people who got 2 correct scores. But the one person and this week's winner who got 3 correct scores was Fletcher Burke. So well done to you, mate. As I say, loads and loads of comments last week. So thank you to everyone who got involved. And I hope you'll get involved again this week. But you were the only person who got 3 correct scores. So well done to you. And as I say, if you want to be shouted out in my next predictions video, be sure to get down in the comments and put your predictions in for this weekend's Premier League games. But as always, we will go through those games now. Just the same as last week, I am posting this on a Wednesday. I do normally like to post them on a Thursday night, but again, we have a Friday night kickoff between Wolves and Crystal Palace. So I am posting this a day early to try and give you guys the chance to get your predictions in before the weekend starts on Friday night. So as I say, Wolves taking on Crystal Palace. It's at 8 o'clock on Friday. It's on BT. It's on box office. So again, you've got to pay for it if you want to watch it. Wolves currently in 9th place after the first 6 games. Have looked pretty good defensively. Really good. Solid. Attacking wise, I mean, they've got Jimenez who scored a goal in both of their last 2 games. The one against Leeds was a deflection. The one against Newcastle was a quality goal. It was a rocket. But just moving forward, they're not quite knitting together as maybe they would have liked. Obviously, they've made some changes with Jota going, but they've also had players coming in like Semedo, who's looked all right. Traore seems to be the man from the bench at the minute. I don't know if that'll change, if they're going to start playing him from the start. But overall, I would say they are doing well, and they are scoring goals. I think they'd like to just be scoring a few more. And as I say, 1-1 against Newcastle. Really, Newcastle defended for 90 minutes and got away with a last minute free kick that went in. You know, the way Wolves dominated that game, they would hope to be scoring more than just the 1. And Crystal Palace, they are in 8th. After their first 6 games. Again, it's not too much of a dissimilar story. I think they have looked very decent, and again, defensively have looked good. I remember I watched the Brighton game a couple of weeks ago, and the only shot they had was the Zaha penalty. Having said that, they did do better at the weekend when they scored 2 goals, beating Fulham 2-1. And they were actually about to keep a clean sheet in that game until Fulham got a goal right at the end. So, with all that in mind, as I say, 2 teams who have done well defensively but maybe not quite clicking in the front line as they'd hoped, I've gone 1-1. Could one of those 2 teams pull the win 2-1, 1-0? I definitely think so, but I think it could well be a tight one. It may even be 0-0. But I've gone for 1-1. Moving on to the weekend now, Saturday at 12:30 on BT. And what I will say is, if you didn't get your predictions in before the Wolves Crystal Palace game, don't worry. If you're watching this Friday night or Saturday morning, just get your predictions in from now for all the games, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. I will revisit this video twice, once on Friday night, once on Saturday morning, to get everyone's predictions in. So don't worry if you're watching this a little bit late. And on that Saturday morning at 12:30 on BT, again, we have got Sheffield United taking on Man City. So Sheffield United haven't had the start they wanted. People are calling it second season syndrome and all of these different kinds of things. What it is exactly, I'm not 100% sure. They haven't had the easiest string of fixtures to start the season, I will say that. And maybe they just had such a fantastic season last season. It was always going to be tough to replicate it straight away. But they are sitting in 19th place. They've just got the 1 point so far. And obviously they lost at the weekend against Liverpool 2-1. Man City, they are sitting in 13th place after their first 5 games. They are a game behind because they did start the league late. Hasn't been an easy start for Man City. Obviously injuries have really hindered them. Jesus being injured, Aguero being injured, De Bruyne getting injured. And they are obviously trying to work with a relatively makeshift defence as well, with injuries there, players coming in and everything else. Aguero is back. De Bruyne is back, and we did see them win last night in the Champions League against Marseille. Will they continue that winning streak against Sheffield United? I mean, they did draw 1-1 against West Ham at the weekend, and I mean, West Ham have been playing well. But if you'd asked me what I thought the score would be before the season started, I would have said, well, I don't know, a few goals to Man City to beat West Ham, not 1-1. So, as I say, Man City haven't been great, but neither have Sheffield United. Man City are the favourites. I've backed them 2-0. They've got Aguero, they've got Sterling, they've got De Bruyne. You've got to think they're going to get a few. Can Sheffield United get one? Quite possibly. But that's what I've gone for. Moving on again on the Saturday, but at 3 o'clock, it's on BT again, and this one's again on Box Office. So if you're not a BT watcher, you're going to have to wait till Saturday night before you can watch some football. We have got Burnley taking on Chelsea. So, Burnley, another team who have not started the season well, currently sitting in 18th place and with just that 1 point on the board so far. They played against Spurs at the weekend, losing 1-0. I saw Sean Dyche talking before the start of that game, where he basically said that they are working to try and get to where they want to be. They didn't have the push of new transfers in the window, and maybe that's showing. A lot of teams are spending money. Even the promoted sides have gone out and spent money. Burnley didn't spend anything, and regardless of not spending, because of how well they've kind of done in previous seasons, they're not a team really you've looked at in recent seasons and gone, they'll be fighting relegation, but they'll probably get out. Most people are, top 10 finishes, and this season it isn't working. Taking on Chelsea, who are sitting in 10th after their first 6 games. Obviously, Chelsea's a bit of a work in progress at the minute. So many new players through the door. It's like the opposite of Burnley, really. Burnley didn't bring anyone in. Chelsea have almost brought in potentially too many people. Lampard is just trying to work out exactly what his first 11 is still. It was great to see Werner play in that number 9, number 10 role when he got his 2 goals the other week. But then a 0-0 against Man United. I was a little bit shocked by that, to be honest, because if there's one thing those two teams can do, Chelsea and Man United, is score goals. The one thing that they don't seem to be able to do is keep goals out. So somehow it ended 0-0, which did surprise me. But moving into this game, and I should have mentioned actually Chelsea play tonight in a Champions League game, so maybe that'll be an indicator of what happens at the weekend. I wouldn't really think too much into it. I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. I can see Burnley getting goal. As I say, Chelsea haven't been bulletproof at the back, but I just do think they've got that fire and power. They didn't show it against Man U quite yet. But players like Pulisic coming back into the team now, who were fantastic last year, you've got to think they're going to get up and running again soon. 2-1. Next up on the Saturday, 5:30 on Sky, we have got Liverpool taking on West Ham. So Liverpool's season has been a strange one. They are currently sitting in 2nd place, joint points leaders with their local rival Everton, who are in 1st. Obviously, Liverpool's season has straight away been impacted by the fact that Alisson was injured from the start of the season. I believe he is fit now. But now losing Van Dijk to injury as well, Matip, is he injured or is he not? I think Joe Gomez still isn't quite there yet. Fabinho trying to play in a defensive role as well. It hasn't been easy for them. They did win their Champions League game last night 2-0 with Jota, the new signing, getting on the score sheet. And of anything, it's just returning Liverpool to what they were a couple of seasons ago, a team who can quite easily score a number of goals with Mane, Salah, and anyone else. But it was always that defensive side that was struggling. But with the addition of Van Dijk and Alisson, was able to cut that out. Now they've got Alisson back, they don't have Van Dijk. It's quite tough to predict what is going to happen. And they're playing against a West Ham side who, to be honest, don't unresemble that kind of strategy, which is outscore the opponent. You think of West Ham's games this season, winning, was it 3 or 4-0 against Wolves, 3 or 4-0 against Leicester, being 3-0 down against Spurs and pulling it back to 3-3. You know, I really think this could be an interesting game. West Ham can clearly let in goals, but they can clearly score them. Liverpool with defensive troubles, but can also score as well. I have gone 3-2 to Liverpool, so I have edged it their way. But, I mean, as I say, some of these games and some of these scorelines are tough to predict. West Ham come out and score 3 or 4 goals. Can Liverpool score as many? Yes. So let me know what you think of that one. Moving on to the Sunday morning now, on Sky Box Office, we have got Villa taking on Southampton. So, Villa, I mean, what a start of the season they had. Currently sitting in 3rd place and are one of the teams who has only played 5 games. Had won 4 in 4. Were then taking on Leeds on the Friday night at home. I truly believed Villa were going to win that game. I went 1-0. I didn't think it was going to be a huge win, but I thought defensively they'd been so strong, and if they can just nick that goal, well, that wasn't the case. Leeds beat them 3-0. Can they bounce back and beat Southampton? I think they possibly can, but Southampton have also had a very good result at the weekend after beating Everton 2-0. And considering Everton were another side who had been undefeated in their first 5, that was also a result that I wasn't expecting. So 2 teams who played at the weekend with results that I didn't quite expect. I mean, Southampton have always got Ings, who we know can score goals. I mentioned 2-3 weeks ago about how Che Adams had looked good but hadn't quite got his shooting boots on yet. Well, I think he must have been watching this video and it must have propelled him into action, because since I mentioned it, he's gone and got 2 goals in 2 games. So again, I think this is a proper 50-50 game. Grealish, you know, he's looked good for Villa, but it just hasn't been quite coming off for him. I've got him in my fantasy team. He gets in those positions, he gets those crosses or those shots in, they're just not quite going the right way for him. I have gone... You know what, I've just kind of said how both teams can score goals, and my prediction doesn't really reflect that, because I've gone 1-1, which seems a bit boring. But I'll stick with it. I think that'll be a good one to watch out for at the weekend. Next up on the Sunday at 2 o'clock on Sky, we have got Newcastle taking on Everton. So as I mentioned, Newcastle managed to pull off a 1-1 draw against Wolves after 89 minutes of defending. A lobbed ball up to Wilson got fouled, and somehow Murphy found the bottom corner with a free kick and came away with a draw. You know, if you hadn't watched the Newcastle versus Wolves game, if you hadn't watched the Newcastle versus Spurs game, and you just looked at the results and went, oh, Newcastle got a draw against Wolves, that's good going, you'd be thinking, yeah, Newcastle are doing alright. But if you actually watched the game, you'd realise that, I mean, Steve Bruce's lucky socks must be wearing thin now. He can't have them on that much longer without getting a hole in them, because it is crazy that we are actually pulling points away from these games. Having said that, we are going up against an Everton side who had been pretty fantastic since the start of the season, but as I say, did lose against Southampton at the weekend. Calvert-Lewin didn't have his shooting boots on for that game. James Rodriguez, potential injury doubt for the game. Coleman is injured. Digne is suspended. So defensively, Everton could have a few troubles with picking their back four or whatever for the weekend, and maybe that's a chance for Newcastle to actually stop defending for a change and maybe try and score a goal in open play. We've got Wilson. I don't know why we aren't trying to help him rather than just shooting the long ball to him every time. I'm hopeful for a Newcastle goal, so I have given Newcastle a goal. However, as much as Everton did have the off game against Southampton, if Calvert-Lewin has his shooting boots on again, I think they could well score some against us. So I've gone 2-1 Everton. I'm hoping I'll be wrong and that Steve Bruce's lucky socks are still working strong. And maybe, if we can stay defensively solid, as I say, Everton are having some potential defensive dilemmas. Maybe we can make something of that, but I don't know. I've gone 2-1 Everton. I went 1-0 Wolves at the weekend, and I said I hope I'm wrong, and I was wrong. So again, I hope I'm wrong about this one. Next up on the Sunday, again on Sky at 4:30, we have got Man U taking on Arsenal. So, Man U drew 0-0 with Chelsea at the weekend. As I say, that was not a prediction I would have had on that game. I thought it's two teams who defensively have potentially struggled a little bit, but one thing they can do is score goals, and neither of them score, and it's 0-0. From the start of the season, obviously there's been a bit of drama with Man U about Maguire. Obviously he came back and had a great game against Newcastle. Then they went on and to win against PSG in the Champions League, which was a fantastic win for them. Bruno Fernandes is obviously looking fantastic at the moment. Rashford's doing some amazing things off the pitch and looking decent on the pitch as well. Coming into a game against Arsenal, who just lost against Leicester at the weekend. Arsenal are a funny one. I think they are looking better under Arteta. I think the football they're trying to play looks better. Basically, trying to have more possession of the football. What isn't working for them is that the main players, Lacazette and Aubameyang particularly, haven't quite looked on the mark. You know, I thought Aubameyang started the season really well, but obviously he's lost his shooting boots as well, or he's lost his lucky socks, because it hasn't been working for him either. So again, another game where I would probably say that defensively maybe not great, but both know how to score goals. Is it going to be 0-0? Is it going to be 2-2? Is it going to be 3-1 or whatever? I've gone 1-1. I don't know. Man U are the home team, if that counts, without a crowd. Players, again, as I say, both teams have got those players. Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Lacazette and Aubameyang. Any one of them can score at any time. How the game goes, who knows. And I will mention that Man U play tonight in the Champions League, so look out for that one. And Arsenal play tomorrow night in the Europa League. So, Man U with 1 day's extra rest, will that make a difference? I think most of these teams are starting to be slightly affected by the fact they're all having to play 2 games a week at the minute. I think that is making a difference. You can look at that and go, that's why the Man U-Chelsea game was 0-0. So I think there will be rotation, there will be changes. But yeah, 1-1. Next up on the Sunday night at 7:15, a late game on Sunday night, Sky box office. Unfortunately, we have got Spurs taking on Brighton. So Spurs currently sitting in 5th place after their first 6 games. got the win 1-0 against Burnley at the weekend. Kane and Son linking up again for another goal. Took them a while to get into that game, but a win's a win, 1-0. Not quite what we've seen in the last few games with the 3-3 against West Ham, or the 7-2 or whatever it was against Southampton, or they had another game when they scored loads of goals. I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, Spurs have looked very good. I was going to say, because Spurs play tomorrow night in the Europa League, is that a team who is maybe getting a little bit overworked? You know, Mourinho's a manager who talks about it a lot, about the players having to play too many games, and obviously Son and Kane are a main part of that scoring, attacking team, having to play on that Thursday night, and then they played at the weekend against Burnley. You know, is that potentially a reason for why they weren't quite off the mark and scoring as many goals? Can they get back to it again against Brighton? I should really imagine Spurs will get a goal against Brighton. They've got too much attacking power and not. However, I've actually quite liked the look of Brighton so far this season. The league table might not quite tell you that, with currently being in 16th place. The only win they've had was against Newcastle. They've drawn the last 2 games. They drew against West Brom at the weekend. No, it wasn't. It was Monday night. They drew against West Brom. They were going to win. They were winning 1-0 until pretty much the last moment when they conceded. But yeah, I think Brighton have looked pretty decent. I think they've had a tough string of fixtures. I mean, they had the chance against West Brom and they blew it by letting in a goal relatively near the end. And I think they could well score against Spurs. But as I say, I just think Spurs have got a lot going forward. Even players like Reguilon, who they've brought in as a fullback, who I also think looks pretty good. You know, he's as good an attacker as some of the rest of the forward players. They've obviously got Bale, who's starting to get a bit of game time. I've gone 3-1 Spurs. I've backed them for the goals, but I can see Brighton grabbing one as well. Moving on to the Monday now, 5:30 kickoff on Sky box office. We have got Fulham taking on West Brom. I mean, no offence to these two teams, but I can't imagine too many neutrals will be paying 15 quid to watch it. I don't want to pay 15 quid to watch my own team. Never mind this one. But anyway, you never know. 2 promoted sides here. Maybe we're in for a shock. Fulham with just 1 point so far this season. West Brom with 3 points so far. So they are making their way up the table. However, that is 3 points from 3 draws. They're going to want to get their first win going into this one. And no doubt Fulham want to get their first win as well. Fulham lost at the weekend against Crystal Palace. And as I mentioned, West Brom drew against Brighton at the weekend. I mean, it's got 0-0 written all over it, doesn't it? 0-0, 1-1. Or can it be a 3-3 or a 3-1 or something exciting? I mean, I've stuck with statistics and I've just gone 1-1. I've said quite a few 1-1s this weekend. I think I've been quite boring with my predictions, but I mean, I could well be wrong. If you're willing to pay 15 quid to watch this game, I hope I'm wrong, because it'll be a boring game if it is, but 1-1. And to finish off on the Monday night at 8 o'clock on Sky, we have got Leeds taking on Leicester. So Leeds, promoted side, sitting in 6th place after their first 6 games. So a real good start from Leeds. Again, Leeds, like some of the other teams I've mentioned, are a team who clearly know how to score goals. We saw it right from the off when they played against Liverpool and just lost 4-3. And we saw it again at the weekend, or on the Friday night, when they went and beat Villa 3-0. Bamford getting a hat-trick. You know, they've brought in that Rodrigo, you know, a big expectation on what he's going to do, and Bamford's pretty much brushed him off and said, look at what I can do. Bamford's, I think, he scored more goals on his own than any other Premier League team has as a whole team. I mean, it's not bad going for the lad. Taking on Leicester, who again aren't doing so bad either. Currently sitting in 4th place after their first 6 games with a win over Arsenal at the weekend, 1-0. They were without Vardy. for the previous game with a knock and they lost. But Vardy came back and did what he did, scored against Arsenal. He seems to like scoring against them, and they picked up the 1-0 win. So, I didn't back Leeds against Villa, but I'm going to do it this time round. I've gone 2-1 to Leeds. I don't know, is it right or is it wrong? It's really hard to tell. Leeds are so attacking and so pressing that they're always going to be likely to score goals. But with that, they're also vulnerable to the counter. And that is something that Leicester specialise in, especially when Vardy is on the pitch. So I can certainly see Vardy getting another goal. I said it for my Arsenal prediction that I thought Vardy would score if he played. And I'm going to do it again. I think if Vardy's there, I think he will score. The question is can Leeds' main man Bamford score more? I've done it. I've said 2-1. I should mention as well that Leicester do play tomorrow night in the Europa League. So, that's not a long break for them, playing tomorrow night and then playing again on the Monday, whereas Leeds have had the whole weekend to relax. So, yeah, that's what I've said. Let me know what you think down below. And that is it, guys. So those are all of my predictions up there. I watched my video back from last week, and when I did this last week, it didn't work. So I've made sure that those predictions are definitely up there. Remember to get your predictions down in the comments below for all of these games. I will go through all of your predictions before the first game kicks off, which is Friday night. So you haven't got too long to get them in. But what I will do is if you're watching this video on Friday night or Saturday morning, get your predictions in anyway. I will come back on Saturday before the 12:30 kickoff and make a note of all of the late predictions as well. So what I'm saying is whether you're watching it tonight, tomorrow, Saturday morning, just get them in. I'll be sure to grab them all. As always, guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Drop a like if you are enjoying these prediction videos, and if you're not subscribed, please do. I know a lot of you guys watch my prediction videos but aren't actually subscribed. I am getting very close to 20,000 subscribers, which would be amazing. So please subscribe if you haven't already. And you know what? Put the bell on as well if you want to be notified each week when I bring out the next predictions video. But yeah, thank you for watching as always. I hope your team wins at the weekend. Have a great weekend as I say. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.